Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shrew, and today we're going to be talking about my experiences with Cyberpunk 2077 and the 100 or so hours I put into it. And this is going to be a doozy, so I suggest grabbing a drink, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Alright, so I titled this video, I chose the worst ending, and I do not regret it. We'll be getting to that at the very end of this video, so stay tuned. There will be some spoilers at the end, so you are warned. But for the main section, there's not going to be very many spoilers, so you don't really need to worry about that. So what is CD Projekt Red? Who are they? What is Cyberpunk 2077? If you haven't been watching the news, this is what it is. Cyberpunk 2077 was CD Projekt Red's first attempt at a dystopian, futuristic first-person shooter role-playing game based upon the near future of 2077, where style and attitude is everything. Gangs and organized crimes are found on every block, and corporations have more power and influence over the world than any government in this future. If you have the cash, you can be anything, be anyone, even live forever. In our world, we view body modifications in some form of disgust. We cover our tattoos, remove our piercings, hide our prosthetics. The world wants you to conform to the normal. But in 2077, body modifications make you better, stronger, and faster. You want to run longer? Just replace your legs with new ones. You want to drink more with your friends? Get a silver liver. Who needs LASIK when you can just replace your eyes? In this future, some employments even require such upgrades, even going as so far as to replace the entire body in a full body transformation in order to work effectively, ignoring those side effects such as technological dependence, cyberpsychosis, and remote body hacking. There is no line between human and machine. We are one in the same. In Cyberpunk 2077, you are either a punk on the street, a corporate rat, or a wandering nomad living outside of the city's walls and its influences, cutting yourself off from its glamour, light, and the technology held within. This is the choice that you have to make. Or so they make you believe. Personally, I loved in Dragon Age Origins how you got to choose your class and your race, how the first 2 hours of the game was your own origin story, and the entire game was crafted out of your choices. Throughout the game, I remember how unwanted I felt because I was an elf, an outcast, ostracized from the world because I was dangerous, a potential blood-sucking mage. Around every corner, someone would call me Knife Ears and demanded I be locked up. I felt alone. I felt like I had to show everyone that I was better. I did not get this same feeling in Cyberpunk. Not really. Not at all. And after the first few hours, you're thrown into the streets, and all your choices accumulates into a couple of voice lines later on the game. They do not really change the story much. Customization in the game is, well, a little disappointing to say the least. Not that they have a fantastic character creation. I mean, you can make the person you're looking for, but it's really not the most in-depth character creation I've ever seen. Normally, I spend several hours creating the perfect character. This one I got through in maybe 20 minutes. It's kind of bare bones, but it's pretty sufficient. I ran into a pretty big bug when creating my character where it would keep like scrolling down to the bottom, and it was really annoying me, and I just wanted to get out of that as quickly as possible. Maybe I would have spent more time in it, but I even went back to it later, and still I don't think it was... I wasn't able to create the character that I wanted. You do have hundreds of different clothing that you can choose from, but you don't really get to see yourself very often. I mean, you can look in a mirror and your frame rate goes to crap, or you can look down at your clothes, but it seems like the only place you could really see yourself in third person is when you're riding on a motorcycle. I can see several different types of people playing the game and just throwing on the strongest armor they pick up just because the stats are better, because who cares what I look like? I won't be able to see it. And when it comes to armor, you don't really get to upgrade the armor that you're currently on. You find a cool cowboy hat you want to wear, well, good luck finding it as a legendary because you can't. So just next legendary I find, I'll just replace it. Up next, this is where the game really shines. It really shines in its gameplay, its visuals, and its story. To start off, I have to say that I played this game on PC with a high-end graphics card, because this game runs and looks like crap on last-gen consoles. Honestly, my heart goes out to anyone playing this on an original Xbox and PS4, and I do hope that CD Projekt Red does fix this game sooner than later so that everyone can experience this game. Because even though it has its issues, it's still a good game. Honestly, I have a bunch of friends, they play PS4 and they're just, I tell them, dudes, don't play this game. Don't get this on PS4. And I feel bad for them. But the visuals on this PC, they're nothing but next gen. I played this on 4K ultra settings with ray tracing turned to its max. Sure, it only ran at a cinematic 24 frames per second, but that was the choice that I made. That's the choice I have when playing on PC. I could have easily turned off the ray tracing, lowered the settings a little bit, and had a smooth 60 frames per second, but I needed to experience ray tracing. I needed to experience everything this game could offer. Even without ray tracing though, the light scattering, the shadows and reflections were pretty much beyond anything I've seen in another game. You flip between them on and off and it's hard to tell the difference. That's how amazing it is just in its base. But side by side, I'd be surprised if you even noticed if ray tracing was turned on if you weren't looking for it. This isn't knocking ray tracing, but it's glorifying how CD Projekt Red has done in making this game look amazing in any way that you play it. If you have the hardware to run it. But this world feels and looks like it's lived in between the characters' models, the huge skyscrapers, and the trash-filled landscapes. Details are in every corner of this game. Each building feels different. Each main character feels personally crafted. This game is jam-packed full of crowds and people and cars. You can't walk 10 feet without running into someone or someone else's vehicle. Yes, I say vehicles because driving in this game is sufficient, to say the least. I mean, you can get from point A to point B, but it's not like it's super fun doing so. Cars feel slippery and unresponsive unless you can find the maybe one or two cars that actually drive well. It mostly upset me that I couldn't go driving around in my Turbo R740 or my Type 66, because handling would only work on empty streets, and cars were expensive to buy. I mean, wasting 20,000 eddies on a car just to not be able to drive it really hurts. And the minimap, when you're in it, in a car, it's so zoomed in that you almost miss every single turn that you don't take. I don't know why they didn't just allow you to zoom out the minimap when you hop in a car. Tip by the Xi'an Coyote. It is early to get, easy on, and it's one of the fastest and best handling cars in the game, so get that one. I do have to say though that Keanu Reeves' performance as Johnny Silverhand, the arrogant, hot-headed atomic rocker with the determination to take down the corpse with any means necessary, was nothing other than breathtaking. I hated this guy's face from the first time I saw him. I just wanted to get rid of him and his incessant partying and drinking. His cold demeanor and show-off attitude was more than I could stand. Some could even call him the terrorist of Night City. As the game went on though, I learned about him. I learned to love and feel for this guy who is outside of his time and beyond his glory days. A stoic guy who just wanted to make the world a better place. At the end, Johnny would call me his friend and the only guy who truly knows him. And I would echo the same voice in my own head. The AI in this game is lackluster. Outside of the main characters who are amazing and possibly one of the best parts of this game, most AI just wanders the streets, popping in and out of existence, standing down an alleyway waiting to be shot. There's no companion feature in this game. Like, you really like the main characters, but they can't follow you around. The cars just kind of drive in their own lane and don't know how to switch lanes, so when something happens, the traffic just gets backed up everywhere all the time. The AI has pretty much the same scripting. When something happens, you throw a grenade and all they do is just hop out of the cars and cower. I know they kind of fixed this in the most latest patch, and I'm hoping they do more. But the most annoying aspect of Night City is constantly getting chased by the cops. You're shooting a bunch of bad guys, accidentally get a single bullet off the distance and hit a bystander, and then you're surrounded by the cops and have to run away.
No. Interesting.
It's really bad. They're working on fixing it. The latest patch did a little bit to fix that. But it's pretty sad. About loot. Loot in this game was plentiful and worth searching corpses for. The more you play, the more powerful you become. By the end of the game, I was nearly unstoppable, and nothing could kill me. Unless I wanted to die. You have several different ways to build your character in this game, and all of them are viable, and all of them are pretty much fun. I chose to play a sneaky sniper, one shot, and everyone would be dead. If you take the time and you max out your character, you can deal insane amounts of damage and are nearly indestructible. Crafting in this game is a must, because some of the biggest, baddest weapons in this game have to be crafted by yourself. There are no gunsmiths that are going to upgrade your equipment for you, no matter how many eddies you have on your person. There are several iconic weapons that you can find on your journey. They go from basic quality to the legendary, ludicrous quality, adding bonuses and unique modifiers at every level. Unfortunately, there are no unique clothing options. You either have to find legendary armors laying around or hope the shops have them, which in the latest patch, thank you, they actually fixed it so that you can buy them after the first time you go and visit them. It was a huge bug, it really annoyed me, but it seems like they got that fixed, so thanks to CD Projekt Red for trying to make the game better. But not having the ability to upgrade your gear made it pretty difficult to dress the way I wanted to. The best part in this game, I have to say, is its main characters. I wanted to know each and every single one of these main characters. They were all amazing. Each character had a different storyline, from finding a lost child, to saving a strip club, to organizing and throwing a rock concert. Each one was unique and each one was memorable. Each quest had me coming back for more to learn the world and its people, to find romance in Night City and make lifelong friends. I know that sounds funny in a video game, but that's the world I was living in. In one of the most memorable side quests, I met an ex-con who wanted to memorialize himself by sacrificing himself on a cross as penance for his sins, and I had to walk him hand by hand up until his ultimate end. So, this is my review, and this is where I'm going to be ranking it. The story... This is a game whose story grabs you by the balls and doesn't let go. It has dozens of unique characters and experiences that await you. People who feel real, and I cried for every one of them. The story earns a 10 out of 10.
Friends can't keep me here, they said. Gotta leave.
And let's talk about gameplay. This game has a lot of bugs. Nothing that was too game-breaking or too frustrating that I personally felt. I fell through the map a few times, I had to reload a few saves a couple times. The game auto-saves frequently enough that you never lose more than a few minutes of progress, even if you have a car that falls through the bridge above you and squashes you like a pancake. It happened. In some games, the bugs can be awful, they can be annoying, and they can really make the game not worth playing, but in others, they can be fun, they can be rewarding, they can unbalance the game by finding the one overpowered weapon or build. It can be really rewarding. This game falls more into the latter category of entertaining glitches than game-breaking glitches. The gunplay in this game was sufficient enough to keep me entertained and engaged, while giving me enough new gear and upgrades to feel stronger each hour I was playing. I would put it less fun shooting than Destiny 2, but better than what I expected and was going into. I definitely put it a 6 out of 10 in the form of gameplay. It would be higher if there were definitely less bugs that I had to deal with. The graphics in this game, they blew my mind. They were completely next gen in terms of graphical quality and detail. It was nothing short of outstanding. So I gave graphics a 10 out of 10 for Cyberpunk 2077. The music and the sound. Now, this one might be a little bit controversial because the music, it was definitely good, and I've heard other people say it is probably the best soundtrack they've ever heard. But for me, it was not very awe-inspiring. The music
Can't have bad luck all
added
the
to its
time.
ambiance and it swayed the mood, but I can't really think of one song that really pulled me in. On top of that, whenever I was driving in the car, I would constantly go through all the different radio stations just because I could not find any song that I really wanted to listen to. And instead, I just wished that I could turn on my Spotify playlist and listen to my own songs instead of whatever was playing in the radio. And I was driving in a car a lot. So when it comes to music and sound, I would rate it a 6 out of 10. And in entertainment, I found myself thinking about this game whenever I wasn't playing it. What would the future be like? I kept asking myself. I wanted to live in this world and be a part of it. Even after finishing the game, I went back just to play through all of its fun and unique side quests and wanted to 100% this game, which I don't do with very many games. And I found a lot of great gems that I had skipped over by the time I had finished the game. And I will be playing this game in the future. That's a promise, especially when they fix a bunch of the bugs and when new DLC comes out, I will be going back to the game. And when it comes to replayability, with the lack of branching paths and the drastically different outcomes to the end of the story, if you played through it once, you'll have a very similar experience of playing through it the next time. So you can play it with a different build, but I would suggest just 100%ing it instead. Replayability, I give it a 4 out of 10 because there's not much difference the second time you play it. Now, my overall review of this game, this has to be one of the best games I played all year. Albeit the flaws, and the delays, and the bugs, and the cut content. Personally, I love this game and wished I could play it with fresh eyes. What a way to end what a stressful year in 2020 is by playing Cyberpunk 2077. Personally, I needed this. I had to rate it a 9.3 out of 10. So what a great game. I love this game. It is not an average of all the scores I gave beforehand, but this is how I personally felt about this game. There are a lot of drawbacks, if I haven't mentioned them before. Let's get over them. So if you need to, again, take a drink. We're going to go over some of the drawbacks of this game. Now let's talk about drawbacks. Let's take a deep breath because we'll get through this section eventually, for there are many drawbacks. First off, there's the general bugs and glitches. Their game's completely unbalanced in terms of the level and the damage output you can do, and not being able to upgrade my armor to the next rarity, having to spec into crafting to get the best gear. AI is just there with no daily routine. There is a lack of minigames, basically no minigames, not even just a fun shooting range that I could go to and rack up points. There are tons of locked doors that don't even open and there's nothing behind them. The driving in the game definitely needs some polish. And crafting ends up breaking the economy of the game. You can just craft and have unlimited money. You know, it's kind of fitting that this game's main actor comes from the Matrix, and the Matrix's whole story revolves around the notion that there is no choice and choice is an illusion, because that's exactly how it felt in this game. Every action has little to no change on the end story. The elevators in this game only go to 1 or 2 levels of a 200-foot skyscraper, and it definitely lacked the exploration of something bigger than The Witcher due to size and scalability. That is a quote from CD Projekt Red themselves. CDPR, they laid out this game as being a visceral adult-themed game. I remember the first trailer that they came out showing a naked lady in a bathtub being stripped for parts. Personally, I wanted more of that. Instead, I felt like all they did was tone down the game to fit their M-rated rating without having to cross the line, like, at all. What I'm trying to say is, I love this game, and you might too. Or you might see all the issues and the problems and the glitches that are in this game and miss the diamond hidden in the rough.
How do you take yours?
Now, this is where I preference the very beginning of the story where I chose the worst ending and do not regret it. So up next is a spoiler warning, and it is not scripted, so you have been warned.
What's next?
Again, this is your final warning. If you don't want any spoilers, you can cut it off here. There's not huge spoilers, it's just talking about one ending out of the maybe 6 different endings that you can choose from. So let's talk about it. During the game, one of the main characters ends up dying really early on, and I love that guy. And you have the cell phone in this game, and you can just call up people at random, and his number's still in your phone. So one time I would pull open the phone and I would call him, and his voicemail comes on, and you actually have the option to talk to him and tell him about what you've been doing on in the game. So I found myself doing this several times, talking to my dead friend by calling him. And personally, it just... what's the word I'm looking for? It felt therapeutical, being able to call my dead friend. At the very end of the game, you go to this door, and these guys are standing outside of it, and a little pop-up comes up being like, hey, you better watch out. There's no going back after this point. So this is what you gotta do. You know you're reaching the end. If you want to do anything beforehand, go ahead and do it. So I saved right here because I knew I was going to be coming back to this part. And I get there, and I didn't really know much of the endings. I didn't know what I was getting into. But I started, and you go and you talk to... I don't even remember her name. You talk with a girl who's the head of the Arasaka company, and she basically gives you a decision to help her out, and then you basically fall ill, nearly die, and be dragged back to Vic's place, where you have to... you're basically on your last stand. Vic, he patches you up, and then you follow Misty to the top of Vic's shop, his chop shop, and you're kind of overlooking the scenery, and there's a big billboard there, and it says "Secure Your Soul." And I looked at that billboard, and I was just thinking, that's very fitting. Secure your soul, because here's the end of the game where you are literally choosing whether you secure your soul or not. And I'm sitting there, and it gives me a bunch of options, and I scroll through them, and I see one. And I look over, and I see this gun, and I see the ledge that I'm at, and I'm just thinking, can I just, like, end it all? And very funny, a little bit later, it gives you the option to pick up the gun and use the suicide ending. So that's the one I chose. Let's end it in a bang. And yeah, that's kind of when the game flips on its head. And here I am on the top of a building all by myself and just committed suicide. Well, then the credits start rolling. Then the phone rings. And Vic comes on the line. You know, Vic, the great guy, the amazing guy who goes and patched you up whenever you were falling apart. The guy who literally sold you his best items because he knew you would pay him back later. He goes and he blames himself for your death. He did nothing wrong. He just wishes he could have done more to save you. Vic, I wanted to reach out, give him a hug, tell him that it's not your fault. Then Mama Welks calls, and bless her heart, she gives the most beautiful prayer you've ever heard. And then Judy calls, and she's just crying in her pillow. She's been through a lot, and Judy, just, it's not you, it's me. I had to do it. I couldn't think of any other way out. And then Pan Am comes on and she totally rips you a new one. She tells you to go to hell and that she'll meet you there and kick you in the balls. River comes in. He doesn't blame you, but you can tell that he's really broken inside. Carrie, the legend, is disappointed. He knew you had more in him. And then Misty comes on and she tells you that your death affected more people than just you. That you have friends and family out there who love you, who care about you, and that your death really hurt them inside. And I felt that. And when I chose that ending, I can see how I didn't have much other choices of going on, and going on was more difficult than continuing. And I felt how much it hurt everyone who knew me after I made that decision. And I just wanted to say that death, it's not the answer. And this game really reminded me of that. That even though it might be more difficult to continue on, that it's worth it. And people care about you. And you just sometimes need to give someone the chance to listen. All I want to say at the very end of this video is that someone loves you and cares about you. Peace out. Let's go back again to the beginning. I wish I pre-read this to know what I was going to say. When talking about loot in this game was plentiful. It was worth... Drink time. Words are hard. Who needs upgrades? Let's do this again. Prosthetic. Why can I now say prosthetics? This is tough. Sherman's an idiot. We all knew this. Oh my god. I completely recorded a separate section with my headset on, and now I've got to toss it all out because it looks really bad, and my door's open now. Look at that. Someone's gonna notice. Just a second. This is the look of disappointment on my face. Now the back of my hair is a mess. Oh well. Now let's... Alright, I just wanted to say thank you for any of you who made it this far in the video. It is much appreciated. This is the first really long video that I've ever made, so I do appreciate you getting to this point. And if you have any suggestions or anything that I could do to improve these videos, go ahead, post it down in the comments down below. It would be much appreciated. And you be amazing, and I will see you later. Bye.